You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or itv.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net. The Bon Ray Show on itv.ie and Irish News Radio. Today we leave 2018, and what a destruction to our country. Probably the worst year. Abortion was brought in on demand. It just gets worse. The most barbaric order where 15-year-old children under 15 can go and have an abortion without their parents' consent or without even the parents knowing. How many deaths that will lead to, the government doesn't even let on that that's an issue. How many girls and women die in the United Kingdom because of abortions? How many suffer for years because of serious implications, become infertile, infected, hemorrhaging? None of this is ever mentioned on their bullshit campaign, which one person died, which had nothing to do with abortion, was to do with a blood poisoning. And all these so-called rapes that they went on, where they're flooding in known mentality from a third world, which rape is not seen as a crime, with Muslims and North Africans. And yet they talk about the Irish. It is an absolute disgrace. We're leaving a very, very scary year, and worse news is to come. We're heading into 2019, and it's not going to get any better. It's getting worse. People will have to accept the murder of babies. They will not be given a burial. They will be thrown into a furnace for the bodies to burn at any stage. It will be up to birth. It is disgusting, barbaric. If the child somehow manages to survive the abortion, they will be left to die. Not only that, we will be flooded with third world immigrants. The Irish government doesn't care what you think. They will be put into hotels. They will be put into your properties. Irish people, eviction bill that was signed by Michael D. Higgins, which the Irish people voted in again. Part of the horrible 2018, heading into the 2019, even worse. He's got 7 more years of damage. He signed the most barbaric abortion. He signed in the eviction bill. This is why old age pensioners are being thrown out by their ears and beaten up. An absolute disgrace. And all they can talk about, Brexit this, Brexit that. The English went for independence. Try to. I don't know if they're going to get it. We'll still to see in March. But then anyway, they had a traitorous government who signed the UN pact anyway, so it's not going to make any difference. That country's going to be destroyed as ours. As the Irish people are clapping the destruction and the death to the Irish heritage, their culture, to their tradition, and clapping, yay, come on in, everybody, you're all Irish. It doesn't matter whether you believe in chopping off women's clitorises, or you believe in rape, or you believe in murder for if somebody insults Islam. Yeah, you're all welcome here. This is a destruction. It's an absolutely sad day, and I think I'm not the only one who really, for me, it's even the new year. I think for a lot of people it hit them at Christmas. They didn't really celebrate Christmas as much. For me, it's the new year. It's a really sadness of what a horrible destruction year we left behind, heading into an even worse. Absolutely, where murder of children is normalised, where old people are thrown out on the streets, where Muslims with no Irish blood, no Irish heritage, no Irish connection, no Irish ways of life are being given Irish homes of their homeland, their heritage. This is the new I absolutely, my stomach is sick with it all. I can't even look at the fake news, and I'm not even looking at the real news now. I sometimes just want to hide. It's absolutely heartbroken, as I've explained many times during this year. I go through anger, heartbroken, absolutely depressed about the situation, and it's not getting any better. We're heading into a really bad year, and I don't think there's a fight in the Irish to put up this. The yellow vest seems to be putting up a fight, but they're very scared of having any labels attached to them. Everyone's too scared. You're not going to win a war if the opponent has terrified you enough. It's like if you ever watch a boxing match, you know, they psych each other out. If mentally you've been worn down before you've got into the ring, your chances are very slim. And mentally they're worn out. So even you watch the yellow vests in Ireland, they're not like the yellow vests in France. They don't care about their labels. They're like, we're anti this, we're anti that, we don't want open borders. They're well out. And you look at the other yellow vests around Europe, they're not afraid. The Irish are like a little bit afraid of being boxed in any names. That's a sign of weakness. It'll easily be torn apart, and that's a frightening thing. Same as pro-life groups. You know, I was listening to somebody who was trying to get leaflets out because they're bringing in killing of the baby into Rotunda Hospital, and he wanted to bring out some leaflets, and he went to try and get one of the groups to get organised. Again, the same fear came on because Simon Harris has threatened them that he'll close them down and criminalise them. You can't be in fear. They are going to do this to you. And that is reality. But you've got to, the fight has to be worth it. You have to actually stand up, because if you're going to fall down on the first hurdle, there's no point you even starting to open your voice unless you're willing for the long haul. And it is a long haul. But none of you have the real fight to stand up to the stupid names you will be called. Right-wing, white fascist, whatever the stupid names, Nazi. They're all names to shut you up. You have to stand clear and hold those names and know what Nazism is. At this stage, everyone should know it's a left wing. It's National Socialists. It's nothing to do with the right wing. And the people who are shouting that actually have no idea of what any of these words mean. So you should know what the words mean and then explain it to them, that it's actually them who is Nazis, fascists. That is what a fascist does, is to shut people up. And that is what our government is doing. It's I don't have much good news for the new year. And I don't even feel like celebrating the new year, because it's as bad as the other year, and that was pretty awful. I don't know what new referendums to take away what rights will be left. My only advice for you, because I don't see a fight in Ireland, you need to be fighting much more than the tunnel. You need to be kind of going, you don't want open borders, you want to save Ireland. And until that real fight comes out and you're really ready to take on, and it's not the immigrants you're taking on, it's the government. Because the government is the one who's bringing them in. The government is the ones who's giving them your homes, your hotels in your town. The government is putting women and children's lives in danger. The government is the one who agreed to build all these mosques. It's the government. And until we get Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, the fake coalition, Sinn Féin, and People Before Profit off the door, and we get an Irish person who says, close the border. No more passports unless you have Irish parents. Maybe a grandparent. We'll go back to looking at that what the Irish used to. But other than that, anybody who paid for a passport, they get entitled to their money back, but they have to hand it back. Irish citizenship, that's a different thing. If you work in Ireland, you pay Irish taxes, and you contribute to the Irish way of life, then you're entitled to Irish citizenship. But an Irish passport should only be given to Irish people. Now, the only difference, the only thing that I would, because the white South Africans' passport is pretty much worth crap, I think they should, depending on the surname, be given a European passport, depending on where their name is. And they should automatically be given that. Because at the moment, the whole world is denying their genocide, and they are being killed off in huge numbers. And they've been left in South Africa to rot. They can't work, they can't do anything because the black government only wants black people in work. So they're very much cornered. So I do think that they should be given a flight. They are the only real refugees because the war in Syria is well gone. In fact, the Syrian women are screaming out for Syrian men to come home. I don't know why. Their only rape is disgusting. The only thing I've ever seen in Europe is the most disgusting vile. But anyway, they're screaming out for them to come back and for their government to act on getting the men back because they want their country built up. And so far, Assad has said that he will take back men who refuse to go into the army without any criminal charges. They want their men back. The war is over. And the only people who really fled was men of fighting age. Islamic men. Even the Christian men didn't bloody. So it's like something like 70% now in Syria are females because they all fled. All the males fled. So as I was saying about Ireland, yeah, there's not much hope unless you stand up and fight for this. The new year isn't much of a new year. The new year for you it's too late even. You are controlled. Our country is taken and there is no fight. You know, when a few weeks ago I used to say it's like that movie Taken, where she gets taken under the table and her father, Liam Neeson, rings and he knows that she's going to be taken. And he starts saying, make a plan, you are going to be taken. Well, we have been taken, as I said. But there's nobody coming. What you're doing is waving little flags here and there. You have to be willing to stand up and fight. Get out Leo's residence in his house, wherever he lives, and start protesting that you want him out. You want the whole government out. You want a government that says, close the borders. Irish passports only for Irish people. Get the Irish, the 10,000 homeless, homes. No more refugees. Absolutely. If they cannot prove they're a refugee, out of the country, then the non-Irish that live here, if they're paying the working taxes, absolutely fine. There's no problem. They're allowed to stay if they're actually genuine working. Anybody who's come into the country and just signing on has to stop. And sending home money has to stop. If they come into the country, they must work. They can't get dole or social benefits for at least living in this country for 3 years. At least 3, or 5 years even, if you're non-Irish. You can't just get the money off the Irish taxpayers. That has to go to the Irish homeless and that has to go to the Irish poor. And as for giving money to Africa and all those, is another scandal. Surprise, surprise that it didn't go to the African poor. But you know what? Charity begins at home. We have enough poor and we have enough needy in Ireland that we need to look after them. We need to stop that for the moment. Because the government's going on about how well we're doing. We're not doing well. Have a walk through Dublin and have a look at all the homeless. We're not doing well. And none of them are non-Irish. There's something very wrong going on. So we need to fix that. But that's not going to happen with this government. It's going to be more of the Irish on the streets, more of the Irish dying, more of the Irish being thrown out of their homes. And this year is more and more of what we've seen. This time it's death to the Irish babies. Horrific situation that we have brought in this barbaric bill. Even countries that have abortions are quite shocked at the level that the Irish have brought it in. The UK have had it in since the 60s, have rules. Most European countries have rules, and it's not up to birth. They're shocked. That's how bad it is. Even other European countries who are pro-abortion are quite shocked at the level of our abortion. That's how bad it is. Thank you for listening on the Bonnery Show. I will wish you a happy new year, but I really don't believe it's going to be a happy new year. I think the best is to work out, if you've got young children, you've got to work out the best way for them, and sending them to school is not the best way. Homeschool them if you possibly can, or take them out of the country. But the schooling has been all brainwashing bullshit. Money going into agendas like teaching them about gay sex. Their schools are nothing but indoctrination. They're not being taught. And there's nothing good coming from their education. They will be thought to hate you and anything that's conservative. You listen to Bono and his bullshit about, the 1916 weren't the real heroes. They were the heroes. They fought and died for our independence, our rights. And the disgusting junkie Bono is to defame their names when they are our heroes. They died and fought so we have freedom. Something Bono doesn't agree with is freedom. He's a disgusting human being. How dare he talk about Irish heroes like that? And they were heroes. They gave up everything so we could have freedom that the traitors in the Dáil have given up. But everything Bono talks about wasn't good. That was good. They did it with their lives and their beliefs and their beauty of their country, their heritage, their culture. That is what we are. We are Irish, and we should be proud of our culture and heritage, rather than him putting it down as if to say there was something. It's like as if he doesn't say it's racism, but you know that that's what he thinks it is, because they wanted a sovereign, independent country. And that is something we should be all very proud of, that they died and fought to get that. Bono's trying to mix the water up, and there's so much indoctrinated kids, stupidity, not even kids, adults from the millennium that are brain dead, and the generation above them, the baby boomers. My only hope is Generation Z, but they are being really indoctrinated in schools. But from what I can see, they're actually fed up with the Liberals. They've had 2 or 3 generations of the bullshit. And I do think they will be the ones who will be the more conservative. I think they'll be like America, where religion and everything has been forced from them. But they will turn around and be quite conservative. But it'll be a long fight back. It'll be a destruction of Ireland, and we're such a small population. Oh, anyway, have a happy new year, and I hope you do celebrate it and write down a plan of where you're going and how you're going to contribute to Ireland. Not this bullshit new Ireland, the real Ireland, the heritage, our culture, our traditions. How are you going to help by bringing it on, by showing it, by teaching it to your next generation? And it needs to be taught, because we are the last. We're a dying race. On the Bonnery Show. Happy New Year.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.